Hey, where are you watching from today? I'm Claire Bennett, 23 years old, soaked through, lugging pizzas in a relentless downpour, while most people my age are out having fun on a Friday night. My hands still throb from the morning shift at the cafe, juggling this dripping pepperoni special beneath a shaky umbrella. And somewhere out there, my brother Dylan is probably partying in some club, blowing through our parents' money like it's endless. Different rules, always. His path paved smooth with chances handed to him, me barely managing to keep the lights on at home. I never thought anything would change until that drenched night when someone from my past spotted me. Before I get into how I went from soggy pizza delivery girl to flipping my whole life upside down, hit subscribe if you've ever felt like the forgotten one in your own family, and drop a comment where you're tuning in from. Growing up in our quiet, middle-class Connecticut neighborhood, it didn't look obvious to anyone outside how differently my parents treated Dylan and me. Our house on Maple Lane had 4 bedrooms, a tidy front yard, everything a typical American family could want. My dad, Michael, was a regional manager at some insurance firm. Mom, Karen, gave piano lessons from the living room. We weren't rich, but at least the bills got paid. The favoritism wasn't glaring at first, just tiny things. When I was 7, I spent a whole weekend painting a watercolor of our family for the school art show. I snagged second place, but my parents missed the ceremony because Dylan had a little league game. My ribbon ended up shoved in a drawer, while his countless trophies took over the fireplace mantle. "We've got to support your brother," Mom would say softly whenever I showed any hurt. "Boys have it tougher these days. They need more encouragement." By the time I hit 12, the pattern was clear as day. Dylan's birthday parties? Big deal. Clowns, custom cakes, the works. Mine? A quick dinner somewhere if I was lucky. Question it, and Dad would just ruffle my hair and say, "You're so independent, Claire. You'll be fine without all the fuss." Their words became a script I had no choice but to follow. I learned independence because no one handed me anything. At 13, I was babysitting, saving every penny, while Dylan got an allowance just for existing. I taught myself Photoshop at the library because art classes were a luxury we couldn't afford. But hey, there was always cash for Dylan's hockey gear. The inequality became impossible to ignore at 16. On his 16th birthday, Dylan got a used but decent Honda Civic from our parents. 6 months later, for mine, Dad gave me a bus timetable and work permit papers. "We believe in teaching you responsibility," he said. "You'll value it more if you earn it yourself." So I worked weekends and summers for nearly 2 years before I could buy a 15-year-old Toyota with shaky brakes and zero AC. Meanwhile, when Dylan dinged his car at a party, our parents paid to fix it. No lectures. Planning for college hit hardest. I kept a 3.9 GPA all through high school, juggling part-time jobs, filling every free moment with extracurriculars and late-night study sessions. My dream was Parsons School of Design. When acceptance letters came, I got a partial scholarship, not enough to cover the whole cost. Mom had promised for years, "We're saving for both your educations." But when I finally checked, my college fund was gone. Borrowed for Dylan's first startup flop, some craft beer app that never launched. He dropped out of community college after 1 semester to chase entrepreneurship. Dad said it was an investment. "You can take out loans. With your grades, you'll be fine," he shrugged. So I ended up at the state school, buried in crushing debt, working 30 hours a week. Dylan bounced between one startup to the next, all funded by Mom and Dad, all doomed by his lack of follow-through. One figure always shadowed our family story. Uncle James, Dad's older brother. He vanished when I was 14 after a massive fight with Dad. I remember yelling behind closed doors, words like irresponsible, betrayal. Then silence. Photos with him disappeared. Ask about it, and Dad changed the subject fast. "Some people just don't belong in your life," he'd say like it was law. The breaking point? Thanksgiving sophomore year. Midterms had me drained, juggling shifts to pay for books. At dinner, my parents announced they were helping Dylan lease office space for his second failed startup comeback. Dylan bragged, "This one's really gonna take off." No mention that his first venture ate my college fund. When I quietly brought up my next semester tuition struggle, Mom patted my hand. "Maybe take a semester off to save." I looked at the table. Dylan's smug grin, Dad's proud look locked on his son, Mom's dismissive pat, and something inside shattered. I left that weekend, rented a tiny studio with a roommate, and vowed total independence. I'd rather fight to stand on my own than be the family afterthought. Fast forward to 23, my life was a brutal loop. Work, sleep, repeat. My apartment sat in a neighborhood agents call up and coming, code for sketchy and rundown. The elevator's been out since I moved in 8 months ago. That means 4 flights of stairs, daily, no matter how wiped I felt. My alarm blasted at 4:30 a.m. By 5:15, I was tying my apron at Brewington's, a local coffee shop I'd worked at for 2 years. The pre-dawn grind was soul-sucking, grinding beans, restocking pastries, scrubbing machines, but steady money and decent tips. "Girl, you look like you slept standing up," Mia joked one morning as I yawned through my third stretch. "Bold of you to assume I slept at all." I smiled weakly. Mia knew the whole story, one of the few who did. She'd listen while I vented about family drama or money stress, no judgment, always offering her couch if I needed a place. Budgeting was a masterclass in stretching. Rent, utilities, loans, car insurance, groceries left me $43 a month for anything else. One flat tire, a doctor visit, and it meant skipping meals or dipping into my $300 emergency fund, which never grew. My Brewington shift ended at 1:30 p.m., just enough time to race home, change, and hit Gino's Pizzeria for my second job. 5 nights a week, I delivered pizzas until midnight, driving through unfamiliar neighborhoods in a beat-up Toyota with 200,000 miles and scary noises when I turned left. The toll was brutal. 70-plus hour weeks left me drained, with dark circles and migraines a constant. My hands cracked from washing dishes and handling hot boxes. I kept medicated lotion in both cars, squeezing it on at stoplights, a tiny grace keeping me from bleeding. Family ghosts still haunted me. Mom called weekly, but it was always about Dylan's latest startup. His third try, a subscription box for pet owners, fully funded by them despite past failures. "He's meeting investors next week," she'd gush. "Your dad thinks this could be the one." Only then would she ask how I was without really wanting an answer. "Mention a side project in graphic design? That's nice, dear. Good to have hobbies." They kept the weekly dinners, always welcome to join, but between exhaustion and bitterness, I showed up maybe once a month. When I did, talk circled around Dylan's business, while my work got brushed off as temporary, despite years of my support. Last month, I tried for a small business loan to kick off my graphic design freelance gig, my dream to turn it full-time. The officer skimmed my portfolio, then glanced at my debt. "Looks promising," he said, "but your debt-to-income ratio and lack of business history means no approval." I left the bank crushed. That night, scrolling Instagram, I saw Dylan's new company car, bought with our parents' co-signature. Caption, "Hard work pays off, Saren blessed doesn't jeune entrepreneur." Resentment crushed me like a weight in my chest. Some days, it felt physical. I tried to focus on my own path, but the unfairness was a constant shadow. Last Tuesday was the worst. My car's check engine light came on mid-delivery. The espresso machine at work broke, triggering angry customers. 3 pizza customers stiffed me on tips. By nightfall, I was running on fumes and caffeine, every muscle aching. Then Mom called. "Claire, sweetheart, could you do us a favor? Dylan's cash flow is tight this month. Can you loan him $500 till his next investor meeting?" I nearly crashed the car, the nerve, asking me, barely scraping rent, to bail out my always supported brother. "Mom, I'm working 2 jobs just to keep the lights on. I don't have $500. "If you came to dinner more, you'd know we've put everything into Dylan's business. We're stretched too." Her voice was sharp, like my absence was a burden. After hanging up, I pulled into an empty lot and sobbed hard. The ugly kind of crying that stains uniforms and leaves your face blotchy. I was at my breaking point, unsure how much longer I could carry this. That Friday night, the universe seemed set on testing me. Storm clouds rolled in as my shift started. By 8 p.m., rain was relentless. Delivery drivers hate rain. Slow roads, soaked clothes. No extra tips despite the extra effort. that miserable, soaked night, it changed everything. The last delivery was in a rich neighborhood, million-dollar homes behind perfect hedges. I'd delivered there before. The wealthy rarely tipped better than middle class. Music thumped from inside a house lit up for a party. I balanced 4 extra-large pizzas under my crumbling umbrella, sneakers squelching up the cobblestones. A 20-something guy with a backward cap and a beer opened the door, looking me up and down with obvious amusement. "Pizza's here!" he called to the crowd inside. Turning back, he asked, "How much?" $78.50, I said, voice polite despite the misery. He fumbled, dropping bills. "Keep the change," he slurred, handing me $80. A $1.50 tip for 4 pizzas in the rain. "Thanks," I muttered, masking disappointment. As I turned to leave, someone called out, "Don't forget to make her wait in the rain while we find paper plates." Laughter followed. I walked back to my car, rain soaking through my cap, running down my neck. My windshield wipers barely worked, smearing mud instead of clearing it. Perfect end to a perfect day, I thought bitterly. "Claire." The voice came from behind as I reached for my door. I turned, squinting through the rain, at a tall figure under a large black umbrella. He stepped closer and I instinctively took a step back. "It's me," the man said, stepping into streetlight glow. "Uncle James." I froze, staring at the face I hadn't seen in 8 years. Older, with gray streaks and new lines, but unmistakably my dad's brother. Same strong jaw, straight nose, though James's eyes held a warmth I rarely saw in Michael. "Uncle James." I finally found words, aware of how ridiculous I looked, soaked to the bone in my pizza uniform with Goss emblazed splashed across the chest. "What are you doing here?" he asked, genuine confusion. He stepped forward, offering his umbrella. "Delivering pizzas?" The concern cracked something inside me. It had been so long since anyone in my family cared about me like that. Yeah. Second job," I stammered, suddenly self-conscious. "What brings you here?" "My tech company's sponsoring this charity event," he said, gesturing to the house. "I stepped out for fresh air and saw you coming up with the pizzas. Didn't think it was you." A heavy silence settled, rain tapping his umbrella, the only sound. 8 years of family secrets hung between us. "You're soaked," he finally said. "When does your shift end?" I glanced at my watch. "Just finished." "Coffee? There's a 24-hour diner 10 minutes away. I'd really like to catch up." I wanted to say no. Whatever tore them apart was serious. But something in his face, curiosity, care, made me hesitate. "I don't know if it's a good idea," I said cautiously. Dad doesn't exactly speak kindly of me. His expression flickered with pain. "I'm sure he doesn't. But Claire, I'm not here to use you to get to your father. I'm honestly shocked to see my niece, successful no less, delivering pizzas at midnight." The word successful hit like a punch. Is that how he remembered me? The straight-A kid with big dreams? "Things change," I said simply. "They do," he nodded. "1 hour, just coffee. Then if you never want to see me again, I'll understand." Logic warred with longing. I craved connection, someone who knew me before invisibility. Plus the thought of warmth was tempting. 1 hour, I agreed. Let me call my boss first. 30 minutes later, I sat across from James in a vinyl booth at the Starlight Diner, hair damp, uniform hidden by a dry sweater he'd brought. A mug of hot chocolate warmed my hands. James hadn't just aged, he'd changed. Gone was the disheveled, anxious man from childhood memories. Now, confident, composed. His suit was sharp, understated. His watch quiet, but classy. "So," he said, giving me space, "tell me what's happened since I last saw you. Last I heard, you were headed to art school." The simple question cracked me open. Maybe exhaustion, or the strange setting, or genuine interest in his eyes. I spilled it all. The vanished college fund, the debt, the 2 jobs, the frozen dreams. James listened, quiet and troubled. When I ran out of words, he said, turning his mug absently, "Your father and I had similar childhoods." He paused. Our parents played favorites too. I was the Dylan. I blinked. You were the favorite? He nodded. Golden boy, star athlete, could do no wrong. Your dad was the responsible one who never got the spotlight. A sad smile. Ironic he's repeating the same cycle. I swallowed. So, what broke you two apart? He sighed. We started a tech company after college, before tech was cool. Your dad wanted to cut corners, make deals that weren't quite right. I disagreed. It got ugly. I bought him out. The company took off beyond anything we dreamed. He hesitated. He's never forgiven me for being right. That hung between us. Everything I thought about their fight flipped. What's the company? Raycom Technologies. My jaw dropped. Raycom was a giant in software. Headline news for innovation. That's yours? He shrugged modestly. Among other things. So, you're doing well. He smiled slightly. But that's why it's so hard seeing you like this. You have real talent. I remember your art as a kid. You shouldn't be out delivering pizzas at midnight. My pride flared. I don't want charity. Good. He didn't miss a beat. I don't give charity. I invest in talent. He slid a business card across the table. Our design team is always hunting for fresh eyes. If you want, I'll set up an interview. I stared at the card, hope and doubt warring inside me. Because I'm your niece? Because you're good. From what I recall and what you told me tonight, you're tough, responsible, hardworking. His face softened. The family tie might open the door, but it won't keep you in the job if you can't perform. I turned the card in my fingers. I'll think about it. That's all I ask. He checked his watch. It's been over an hour. I should let you go home. As we walked to our cars, he stopped me, hand on my shoulder. Whatever you decide, Claire, know you can call me anytime. 8 years is too long. For the first time, tears came close. I nodded, voice caught, watching him drive off in a modest sedan, probably worth 3 years of my pay. I sat in my car long after, clutching the card like a lifeline. Part of me wanted to rip it up, reject anything tied to a family that had pushed me aside. But the other part, bone tired of fighting alone, whispered that sometimes help arrives from the least expected places. That night, I slept deeper than I had in months, the card catching dawn's first light on my nightstand. Has something like this ever happened to you? I sat there, gripping that card like a lifeline, torn between wanting to rip it up and wanting to believe in a chance at something better, something real. It took me 3 days to finally dial the number on Uncle James's card. 3 days filled with research, deep dives into everything I could find on Raycom Technologies. I wanted to know who I might be stepping into. I learned about their cutting-edge software solutions, their employee benefits that went beyond the norm, and how the company was praised for its positive work environment. What caught me most was their design work, the sleek interfaces, the branding that made you stop and look, the attention to every little user detail. The bar was set impossibly high. When I finally called, James's assistant picked up right away. I was hoping you'd call, he said, warm and welcoming. Have you thought about what we talked about? My fingers nervously twisted the cord of the old phone on my desk. Yes, I said, voice shaky but determined. I'm interested in the interview, but I have conditions. He was silent for a moment. I'm listening. If I get this chance, it has to be because I earned it. No favors, no shortcuts, no family perks. I want to know I deserve it. There was a pause. Then Uncle James chuckled. You really aren't anything like your brother. Before I could say anything, he went on, come to our downtown office tomorrow at 10 a.m. Bring your portfolio. You'll meet Jessica Lane, our design director. She doesn't tolerate nonsense or family connections. She'll give you the real deal. And yes, she knows I'm your uncle. I braced myself. She'll know you're related to me, but trust me. That fact will work against you with Jessica. She'll watch you like a hawk, making sure no favoritism slips through. It wasn't the comforting news I wanted, but it was exactly what I asked for. That night, I tore through my portfolio like my future depended on it. I picked out my best pieces, polished my explanations, rehearsed my answers. My nerves danced like wildfire. Raycom's headquarters rose tall in the city, 10 floors in a gleaming glass tower. The lobby was all sleek lines, green walls breathing life, and a subtle logo etched in frosted glass. It screamed success without shouting, just like Uncle James. The receptionist directed me up to the 24th floor. James greeted me personally, walking through the open office with easy familiarity. He knew names, nodded greetings. This place was light-filled and buzzing with collaboration. "Jessica's waiting," he said, stopping at a glass-walled conference room. Inside, a woman with a sharp bob and square glasses was absorbed in her tablet. "She doesn't know you're here yet. This is an informal meeting about our design needs and your portfolio." I gripped my portfolio case tight like a shield. Jessica Lane was intimidating. The kind of confidence that doesn't need to speak loudly but fills the room anyway. She glanced me over once and said, "So, you're Michael's daughter?" Her tone was flat, not cold, but definitely no warmth. "Yes," I said, maybe a little too defensively, "but I'm here on my own merit." She raised an eyebrow. "We'll see." Turning to James, she said, "I'll take it from here." He nodded and left us alone. For the next hour, Jessica tore through my work. No sugarcoating, no false praise. She asked sharp, pointed questions about my process, my influences, the tech behind my work. It pushed me to explain my design philosophy clearer than ever. "Your typography needs work," she said bluntly, pointing at a poster design. "But your color theory? Strong. You've got a good instinct for visual hierarchy." She tapped a branding project I'd done for a local bakery. "This one shows real promise." By the end, my nerves settled into a strange, electrifying excitement. Jessica's feedback was the first honest, professional critique I'd ever gotten. No condescension, no dismissal. "We run a paid internship," she said, closing my portfolio. 3 months with a chance for a permanent position afterward. You'll be working on real projects, not fetching coffee." She fixed me with a piercing look. "James wants me to hire you outright, but I don't do that, family or not." "I wouldn't want you to," I said firmly. "The internship starts Monday, 9 to 5, business casual. Can you handle that with your other jobs?" My heart pounded. This was really happening. "I'll make it work." "Good." She handed me a folder. "Fill these out before you leave. And Claire." Her voice softened just a bit. "Your work shows talent, but it needs structure and guidance. That's what we offer here. Success or failure, it's on you." Walking out of that room, I felt like I was floating. For the first time in years, someone saw potential in me. Not obligation, not charity. James waited by the elevator, trying to seem casual but failing. "Well, I start Monday," I said, a smile breaking through. He grinned. "Jessica doesn't do shortcuts. That's a good sign." His face turned serious. "Can you juggle the hours with your other jobs?" Reality hit hard. The internship clashed with my barista schedule, and while it was paid, the stipend wouldn't replace both incomes. "I'll figure it out," I said, already crunching numbers. That afternoon, I had the hardest talks with both my bosses. The coffee shop manager, understanding, said, "You're too valuable to lose completely. Keep weekend shifts. This sounds perfect for you." Quitting the pizza job was terrifying and freeing. Finally, my nights were my own, but my financial cushion was paper thin until this internship turned permanent. The first few weeks at Raycom were a whirlwind. My skills were decent technically, but my professional experience? Barely there. Jessica had me shadow team members, soaking up workflows, learning processes, helping with small tasks. Imposter syndrome hit hard. Everyone else seemed confident, fluent in the lingo. I felt like I was always behind. Most nights I stayed late, practicing what I'd seen, studying industry standards online. One evening, Jessica found me still working at 8:30. "Dedication's admirable," she said, brisk but kind. "But burnout is real. Pace yourself." She never sugarcoated anything, but she wasn't cruel either. Her mentorship was a lifeline. Under her watch, my skills sharpened. My confidence grew alongside my competence. James kept a professional distance at work, treating me like any other intern. But sometimes he stopped by, with a coffee and quiet words of encouragement, or sent me articles on design trends he thought I'd like. Those small gestures meant more than I could say. My first real assignment, creating social media graphics for a product launch, was a thrill. Seeing my work under Raycom's name gave me a rush unlike anything before. My first internship paycheck was modest, but it covered rent without the desperation. By month 2, I moved to a better apartment, one with a working elevator and reliable hot water. I called my parents to share the news. Their reaction? Predictably underwhelming. An internship at your age? Mom said. Shouldn't you have a real job? It is a real job, Dad cut in sharply. It's James's company. So this is his plan, Dad said, voice cold, using you against me. This isn't about you, I snapped. It's about me finally using my skills. Watch out, he warned. James always has motives. Even Dylan sneered when he heard. Must be nice having connections, he said at a rare family dinner. Some of us have to earn it. The irony hit me hard, but I stayed quiet. Their opinions didn't matter anymore. For once, I was on my own path, with people who valued what I brought. 3 months in, I hardly recognized myself. Jessica's sharp eye and James's occasional advice transformed me. I wasn't just making pretty pictures anymore. I was crafting strategic designs that met business goals and looked good doing it. My role grew from helper to leader on small projects. I still worked weekends at the coffee shop, partly for security, partly because I loved the regulars and the change of pace. You're different, Mia said one morning, more centered. I wiped counters, thinking, I do feel different, like I'm finally moving forward instead of just treading water. James became more than an uncle at work. He became a mentor, never bad-mouthing my parents, but helping me see family through new eyes. Talent isn't everything, he told me over lunch once. It's about opportunity and support. Some get it handed, others fight for scraps. The fight makes you stronger, but it shouldn't be this hard. Money finally let me move into a safer, nicer apartment. Not fancy, but clean, bright, and quiet. The first night, the silence woke me. So unfamiliar, I felt disoriented. My first full paycheck came on a Thursday. I stared at my bank account, refreshing, making sure it was real. After bills and loans, I still had money left. Not survival money, actual freedom money. I celebrated with fresh flowers and a new professional outfit, none of it thrifted. Putting distance between me and my toxic family helped me see clearly. I set boundaries, like calls with Mom cut to once a week. I said no to dinners when I needed space. Mom noticed. You never have time for family now, she complained. Success is changing you. I'm still me, I said, just not on call 24/7. The real storm hit when Dylan's new business started crashing. His pet subscription box launched with our parents' cash, but customers disappeared after the first month. One evening, Dad called. His number on my screen made me tense. Claire, your brother needs help. His business is short on cash. I'm sorry to hear that, I said, careful. We thought since you're doing well with the internship, maybe you could loan him a few thousand. I almost laughed. A few thousand, Dad? I just started making steady money 3 months ago. Family helps family, he pushed. We'd do the same for you. I couldn't hold it. Would you? Because I don't remember any help when I worked 2 jobs just to survive. That was different. You chose that path. I didn't choose my college fund to be spent on Dylan. I didn't choose to be the only one expected to stand alone while he got endless bailouts. His voice hardened. This is James's influence. He's jealous of family loyalty. I snapped back. This isn't about Uncle James. It's about your double standards for Dylan and me. You're the selfish one after everything. That was it. Years of silence cracked wide open. What have you done for me, Dad? Name one thing you sacrificed for me, like you do for Dylan. He couldn't answer. I thought so, I said quietly. I'm not loaning Dylan money. I'm still paying for years you never acknowledged. The call ended with Dad's cold disappointment, a familiar weight I was finally ready to shed. The next Sunday, against my better judgment, I went to family dinner. Hoping for peace, maybe reconciliation. It was a mistake. Tension hung heavy the moment I walked in. Mom's warm greeting was ice cold. Dad barely said a word. Dylan sat smugly, clearly briefed on my selfishness. Dinner crawled in stiff silence until Mom mentioned James. I hear his company's doing well, she said, too casual. Expanded into 3 new markets, I replied, wary but honest. Dad slammed his fork down. Probably fed you his side of the story. Hardly. Unlike you, he doesn't nurse old grudges. You don't know what you're talking about, Dad snapped. James betrayed me, he growled. He stole my ideas, pushed me out, then succeeded with my concepts. That's not how he tells it, I said evenly. Of course not. Manipulative as ever. Now he's using you to get back at me. I set down my fork, tired of the charade. Dad, did it ever occur to you he hired me because I'm qualified? Not everything is your feud. You wouldn't know him without me. True. Just like I wouldn't know what it's like to be overlooked in favor of my brother if not for you. The room went quiet. Mom's eyes widened. Dylan shifted uncomfortably. Dad's face flushed dark. Is that really how you feel? Mom asked softly. How else could I feel? Dylan fails with your money. I work myself to the bone without help. Then I get a chance based on merit, and you ask me to bail him out? We've always treated you both the same, Dad insisted, voice shaky. Dad, that's a lie. You never hid the favoritism. Dylan finally spoke, defensive. It's not my fault they help me more. No, it's not your fault, I agreed. It's their choice, but you need to own your privilege and stop taking it. Dinner ended in awkward silence. As I left, Dad stopped me. James destroyed our business. He'll do the same to you. I studied Dad's face. Behind his anger, I saw insecurity. I'm sorry you believe that, but I won't let your grudge control who I trust. Driving home, I felt lighter despite the fight. Speaking my truth was terrifying but necessary. The next day, I called James. Can we meet? I want to hear your side. At a quiet riverside cafe that evening, I told him everything. My parents' financial collapse, Mom's confession, his offer to cover my college fund years ago. Why didn't you tell me? He sighed, staring at the fading sunset. What good would it have done? You'd think I was trying to turn you against your father, but I thought you believed I'd abandon you too. His eyes were sad. I'm sorry for that. After your father cut me off, I tried messaging you. No response. I figured you wanted nothing to do with me. I never got any messages, I said, pieces clicking. They must have been stopped. James nodded slowly. Our relationship has always been complicated. He resented me for being the favorite, then resented me more when I succeeded after leaving the company. He looked me squarely. But Claire, despite everything, he's still my brother. And he's still your father, a father who chose pride over your education. I bit back. Yes, James admitted. But he's trapped in patterns he learned from his own dad. That doesn't excuse him, but it explains a lot. We sat in silence as night fell. Finally, I asked the question simmering in me. What would you do if you were me? He thought long and hard. I'd probably help them. With conditions. Money isn't enough. Breaking cycles means real change. He looked me in the eye. Whatever you decide, I'll back you. This choice is yours. That talk brought clarity I'd been desperate for. In the days after, I started building a plan, not just to fix my parents' crisis, but to heal our family's deep wounds. Enjoying the journey? Don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell so you won't miss what happens next. What's one lesson you're taking from this chapter? 6 months later, I found myself standing in my new office at Raycom, carefully placing framed family photos on the credenza behind my desk. The glass-encased certificate declaring my promotion to senior designer still felt surreal, especially when I thought about how, just a year ago, I was delivering pizzas in the pouring rain. My career had blossomed beyond anything I dared to imagine. That healthcare rebranding project? It had snagged an industry award and cemented my place in the company. But what mattered most was the quiet confidence growing inside me, one no paycheck or trophy could buy. Jessica still pushed me hard, but now, as a respected colleague, not a nervous intern, my personal growth matched my professional strides. The tired, bitter girl braving storms with pizza boxes had transformed into someone who faced challenges head on, set boundaries, and valued herself without needing family approval. After much thought, I decided to help my parents, but this time, it was on my terms, terms that demanded real change, not enabling old patterns. The first move was booking a meeting with a financial advisor who specialized in retirement crises. I paid for it myself, no exceptions. The advisor's report was grim, but not hopeless. With serious lifestyle changes and a strict repayment plan, my parents could avoid losing their home, though their retirement would be pushed back several years. I gave them a portion of my savings to stabilize the immediate mess. But it wasn't a gift. It was a formal loan, complete with paperwork and deadlines. My toughest rule? Dylan had to get a real job and start contributing. No more chasing half-baked startups funded by parents stretched to the breaking point. No more freeloading. Dylan pushed back hard. "That's unfair," he complained during our heated family meeting. "You're punishing me for trying." "I'm not punishing you," I said calmly. "I'm asking you to own your part. You took money you knew they couldn't afford." It took 3 weeks of sulking, but he finally accepted reality. He landed an entry-level job at a marketing firm. At first, the steady paycheck and office routine felt alien, but slowly something shifted. He started feeling pride in earning his own way. Family therapy was the hardest pill to swallow. Dad flat out refused, seeing it as weakness. Mom, though, had hit her limit. "We're doing this, Richard," she declared with surprising strength. "If not for us, then for the kids. We've hurt them both, just in different ways." Those weekly sessions with Dr. Winters, a therapist specializing in adult parent-child relationships, became our healing ground. We peeled back decades of tangled emotions and patterns. Dad's journey was the roughest. Facing his favoritism meant staring down wounds from his own childhood, living in Uncle James's shadow, never feeling good enough. I didn't want Dylan to feel the pain I did growing up. He confessed in one raw session. But I ended up making Claire feel that way instead. That admission, the first direct acknowledgement of the pattern, changed everything. Progress wasn't smooth with setbacks and tough talks, but it moved forward. Mom worked hard to rebuild trust, small gestures like calling just to check on me without mentioning Dylan, and admitting how her silence enabled the unfairness. "I failed you by staying quiet," she said during a private lunch. "I can't change the past, but I'm trying to do better." Dylan's growth surprised us all. Stripped of his safety net, he stumbled at first, missing deadlines, clashing with bosses, griping about the system. But little by little, he learned perseverance, responsibility, patience. 6 months in, he was promoted to junior account manager on merit alone. "It's weird," he said during one of our new monthly sibling dinners, "but earning something myself feels better, even if it's smaller than the business dream." Meanwhile, Uncle James and Dad started to mend fences. It began with small steps. James showing up to therapy once at my request. Dad touring Raycom's offices. Old grudges didn't vanish overnight, but they began building a new relationship, focused on who they were now, not who they'd been. The full circle moment came at Thanksgiving, a year after that rainy night when I'd met James, by chance. We gathered at my parents' house, the whole family together for the first time in almost a decade. The changes were clear. Dad had sold his flashy car, embraced a simpler life. Mom returned to teaching piano to help with bills, carrying a quiet strength I'd never seen before. Dylan came with his girlfriend Melissa, carrying humility alongside her. And James, the once forbidden name, sat at Dad's right, their talk tense but respectful. After dinner, as we settled with coffee, Dad cleared his throat. "I want to say something," he started, hesitant. "This year was hard. We lost money, security, pride." He paused, eyes wet. "But we gained something more. Honesty, understanding, a chance to fix what was broken." He looked at me, voice trembling. "Claire, I owe you the biggest apology, not just for recently, but for a lifetime of making you feel less important." Hearing those words washed over me like rain. They couldn't erase the past, but opened space for something new. Later, as guests left, James pulled me aside. Remember what you told me that night at the diner? That I didn't want charity? I smiled, remembering my stubborn pride soaked through and tired. I knew you'd be extraordinary. Not because you're family or talent, though you have both, but because you know real success comes from within, not handouts. A month later, Raycom launched a mentorship program for underprivileged design students. As coordinator, I guided a nervous intern through her first project. I don't belong here, she admitted during our first meeting. Everyone else seems so confident. I told her, remembering my own fears. Belonging isn't having all the answers. It's being brave enough to ask questions and work hard. Watching her grow, I saw my journey mirrored. The cycle of mentorship had come full circle, from needing guidance to giving it. That's the deepest lesson of all. Our biggest wounds can become the greatest gifts if we face them honestly and grow. The unfair treatment that hurt me gave me a unique lens to help others feeling unseen. Life won't ever be perfectly fair. Some will always have advantages, family, money, luck. The question is how we respond. Do we let bitterness consume us? Do we repeat the patterns that broke us? Or do we carve our own path, building something real from what we've got? I still pour coffee on weekends, not for money, but to remind myself how far I've come. Sometimes the hardest roads lead to the richest destinations. My journey certainly did. Have you ever felt like the underdog in your own family? How did you handle it? Share your story in the comments. I read everyone. If this story touched you, please like and subscribe for more stories about overcoming family struggles. Remember, those who start with the least sometimes grow to achieve the most. Thanks for listening. I hope my story brings you strength as you navigate your own path. Enjoying the story so far? Don't forget to hit subscribe and ring the bell so you never miss an update.